Hello, as promised, I'm going to try to go over some of our classwork. I'm creating a project called Write Data Simple. And what I'm going to do is look at that maximum power transfer formula and figure out what the maximum value is of that function without calculus. So next, finish. Now we have our main program, and we're going to need some libraries as we did in class, since we're going to use a power exponential function, power function. I'm going to use CMath. I also want to take all my numbers and I want to stuff all the numbers in a file. So we'll use the file stream library, file stream. So these are two added features that we're learning about. Well, the other thing we learned about is using a function. So I'm going to say double, and I'm going to call it power. And our power function was just a double variable x. And we turned around and we said, well, it's really return. We used 1,000 because it gave us a good value times x divided by, this is me memorizing the formula. And here was our internal resistance, INT, internal resistance, plus x. And I wanted to square this. So to square it, make our life easy, I simply said, put this in POW, P-O-W, and turn around and have a second parameter, 2, which said, raise this sum to the power of 2. And if you like, you could put parentheses around this and the system won't get upset. Now, what is this internal resistance? I might put a constant here, constant double R internal equals, and we'll say 1,000 ohms. So people know what's going on there. It's 1,000 ohms. So here I have a simple function. And what I can do is create a for loop for start where my brand new x, this x, is different from the other x up there. That is, this x is a different x. They're like two people with the same name. There's the scope of this x is in main. The scope of this x is here. That is the range at which it's visible. It is not seen outside the power function. You could call this moose. No one would know. Remember, it's created here, and at the end, when I return, x no longer exists. In fact, none of this stuff really exists as far as I'm concerned. Next, let's say, okay, let's x go all the way up to something like 10,000. Why? Because I don't know where the max is, so I'm just going to play around. And I'm going to say x equals x plus 1. Move over 1 ohm. So I'm going to have a variable double. I'll call it y. And I'll turn around and say y equals power x. Figure out an x and y. And I'll simply print it out. Cout. Show me x. We'll put a little space in here. I guess /t, tab over. And we'll put y down here, and we'll skip a line. And what will this do? It'll just go through a loop. I'm going to knock this down a little bit because I don't want to go crazy here with numbers. So this will loop 5,000 times. So I'll build the program. And if there are no errors in a moment, I'll be able to run it. And hopefully I'll be patient. And it's off. And somewhere in here is my answer. I didn't save enough with my buffer. I could change my properties here. Go to screen buffer, and I'll make the height, let's see, maybe 1,000? No, 5,000. I wonder if this will hold all 5,000. All right, let's run it again. Notice that, and oh my goodness, I think I may have captured all of them. No, no. Oh, maybe. Maybe. Almost. Almost. And now I sit here and manually look in the x is the first value. Second value is y. So I want to find the maximum y. So I keep going. Oh, whoops. I think I accidentally got rid of it, but it's kind of boring. I don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send that data to a file. So outstream is a creature, and I'll call it file out. Whoops. File stream, excuse me. And I'll give it the name of some sort of name. I'll call it my data dot txt for text. This one line of code will try to create a file called my data. It'll be next to this program when it creates it. How do I know that? Because I've done this before. Next, instead of sending it to standard output, I'm going to change this to float. So it'll take this x and the y and send it to this file, hopefully. Next, I have to close up my file, make everything nice and neat. So now what have I done? Clean up my code for you to see. Here I can open and close files. Here I have some advanced math functions. Here I use the advanced math function POW. I nicely encapsulate this complex equation inside the power function. I then wrote a loop, and in the loop I start off with an x. I go up to 5,000, one x at a time. Take an x, give it to power, look at the output, print x and y out. Except, instead of saying cout, I'm redirecting it, not to standard output, but to this file, if everything went correctly. And then when I'm done, I close out my file. Now to make things neater, I'm going to let people know the program's beginning. Begin, if I could spell begin. Begin the program. And I'm going to let people know the program ended. Completed. That sounds nicer than ended. So I'm going to have a message, begin and end. Now I shall run the program. Well, build it and run it. No mistakes. Whoa, that was fast. No data was displayed on the screen. 0. Where is the data? It's in a file here somewhere. What I can do is right-click on the project name, and I can say Add File. And there it is, my data. It's a text document. And I can say Open it. I can say yes to both of these things. That's fine. Click. There it is. Double click on it. Open inside of code blocks. Ugh. But I'll do it anyway. Boom. There it is. All the lines. And notice there's a lot for me to go through here. Now, I don't want to do this manually. I would like the computer program to do this for me. So what I'm going to do is not only store the data there, I'm going to try to capture the max. So I will say double. I'll say, I guess max power, max x, or max power equals power starting at position 0. I'll assume that's the highest power, and then I'll say double, whoops, max x. What x gave it to me? 0. I'm assuming, here it is, there's a 0. I could clean this code up a little bit. Next, I come down in here. I'm going to send it to the file too, because I want to graph the thing. What I'm also going to do now is I'm going to have a test. I'm going to say if the brand new y that I just calculated here is greater than power of the new x that I have, well, okay, excuse me, got a little carried away there, max power. If I was wrong and this is no longer the largest power, I'm going to fix it. So how will I fix it? I will say max power was wrong, and I'll say the new one is y, and also max x was wrong, and the new value is my brand new x right here, this new x that I get here. And when I'm done, when the program's complete, what I can do also is say cout, print out x max x, and put a little comma, put a comma in there, and max power. And we should put some other things in here, like I don't know what this is, it's just a number. So I should probably say x equals this. And to make things look nicer, I'll say power equals, not just power, max power equals this. And if I did it right, what'll happen is this will assume the first value 0 is the max. Means I don't have to begin at 0 here. I can start at x equals 1. But I'll stay at 0, it doesn't hurt right now. I have a variable called y. Given an x, I calculate a y. I stuff that in a file. I then ask, is the new y greater than what I thought was the maximum? If it was, I change it. And this loop repeats this 5,000 times. After it's done 5,000 times, it will close my output file and hopefully show me the answer. So I build and run this program, build and run. And it says the answer is the maximum power occurs when the resistance, I'm going to go up here, when x equals the internal resistance, which is actually the maximum power transfer theorem. I'll change this to another resistor. I'll change this to 1,750. I said 50. If the theorem's correct, the new answer will be that. Compile and run this again. There it is. And if you take the derivative of this function, set the derivative to 0, and solve for this r int, you will find out it will equal, the maximum power will equal our load at this thing here. Okay, so next thing to do is we have this data file, which is horrendously large. I want to get a nice graph of it. What we can do is go into Excel. And Excel, I could say open another workbook on this PC. I know it's in C++. And this is write data simple. And it can't see it at the moment. All right, this PC, come on, let me find a file. There it is. All Excel files, all files, my data, open. It says, this is what I found. All right, delimited. It sees one row, the other row. I'll accept that. Finish. And it's imported all my data. I simply click on the column I'm interested in, go to Insert, find a nice graph. This looks like a nice one. Oh, maybe this one. Oops. I don't know why that's so sloppy. Bad graph. Let's go get a nicer one. There we go. There's the graph. And this was at 17, whatever it was, the number should be somewhere here. Somewhere here is the maximum value. So I have a nice chart with those numbers, and I used another program, excuse me for clicking that out so quickly. I used this program here, Excel. I clicked on Insert and picked a nice picture. And I can adjust the colors for this picture with some fancy stuff, as we did in class. I hope you enjoyed that episode of C++.